Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Kathleen, and today's video I wanted to share with you guys all of the books I read during the month of July. I actually had a pretty great reading month. I read a total of 8 books, which I'm very proud of, and I read some pretty great books as well. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so the first 4 books that I read during the month of July is actually a whole book series, and it is a series that I mentioned during my July TBR that I wanted to read, and I managed to read the whole series. And it is the Unwind Astrology by Neil Shusterman, which we have Unwind, Unholy, Unsold, and Undivided. And this is his dystopian series, and it follows a world after a war against abortion. And the end to the abortion was when a medical procedure called unwinding was introduced, and unwinding makes harvesting 99% of a human body possible. And this caused a dependency on unwinding. And so an unwinding is only possible for children that are at least 13 years old and all the way up to 18. Only way to unwind a child is by their parents signing the unwind agreement, in which they decide to go ahead and let their child go. And they do this usually for teenagers who are troublesome and cause just havoc. They're called feral teens in this world. It has become mostly acceptable in this world. And so we follow a couple of teenagers who have been set to be unwound, and they manage to escape. And it's a very good series. I absolutely love it, and it's actually one of my favorite series in the entire world. I gave Unwind, Unholy, and Undivided 5 stars, and then I gave Unsold 4 stars. It is such a great series, and if you haven't read it, I would highly recommend it. The next book that I read is actually a graphic novel, and I read it during Reading Rush Week, and it is Witchy by Ariel Slamet Reyes. I actually found out that this was started off as a webcomic before it got purchased to be published as a graphic novel. This isn't set in a world where witches obviously exist, and the strength of a witch, how powerful she is, depends on how long her hair is. So the longer someone's hair is, the more powerful as a witch she is. And usually to have very long hair is obviously a good thing. You want to be the most powerful witch in the room. However, society in this world, if you are deemed to have too long a hair, you are deemed to be dangerous, and they usually execute you, or they usually, get rid of you in some way. So our main character, her father was one of those people whose hair was deemed to be too long, so he was executed by society. She also has long hair, super long hair, and she always hid it because she was afraid the same thing would happen to her. I actually really enjoyed this graphic novel. I loved the world. I thought the characters were really interesting and super fun, and I loved the family dynamic, especially the relationship that she had with her mom. Her mom really fought to protect her, and I just loved that about this graphic novel. And so I would highly recommend everybody to pick up this graphic novel. It was really entertaining. I'm assuming there's going to be a volume 2 because obviously the story isn't finished, and I cannot wait to read the second volume. And I did end up giving this graphic novel 5 stars. Right, and then the next book that I read was a poetry book. I also read this during Reading Rush Week, and it is The Princess Saved Herself in This One by Amanda Lovelace. This was my first poetry book by Amanda Lovelace, and I really enjoyed it. I actually really liked the way she tells her story in this book, how it starts off very dark, very hurtful, but it kind of ends really hopeful and kind of has a happy ending, I'm not gonna lie. So I really like the style of her poetry, kind of like you don't need someone else to pick yourself up. I ended up giving this book 4 stars. I do have another book by Amanda Lovelace, which The Witch Doesn't Burn in this one, or something like that, and I cannot wait to pick that up because I just truly enjoyed this. If you haven't picked it up, any poetry book by Amanda Lovelace, I would highly recommend it. Alright, and then the last book that I read during the month of July was actually the BOOKTUBE Chicks book pick of the month for the month of July, and it is Clap When You Land by Elizabeth Acevedo. And I love this book. I'm not gonna lie, I went into this book completely blind. I had no idea what it was about. This book is actually told in verse. I read both the physical book and listened to the audiobook at the same time. So we're following 2 girls, and they both lose someone to a plane crash. We're seeing both sides of them grieving. One of the girls, she lives in the Dominican Republic, and she depended on her dad, who she lost in the flight, to kind of help out, make sure that she and her family are living well, you know, comfortably, not in poverty. And then the other girl, she's from New York, and she comes from a world that's a little bit more privileged. She has everything that she needs, and she's not living with struggles as much as the girl in the Dominican Republic. When I was reading and listening to the audiobook, their voices, the two girls' voices, because it is dual perspective, they kind of blend. If I wasn't physically reading the book, I would have definitely gotten confused on who I was reading from until I got used to who's who. But the very beginning, their voices were very, very similar, and so I had in the beginning struggle to kind of identify who was who, but eventually I got used to the story. I got to know each of the girls. But I'll highly recommend just having the physical book in front of you if you're listening to the audiobook, or really pay attention to the audiobook. I really identified with one of the girls, and that's Yahara, and she's the New York girl. She has this struggle with her identity. She is Dominican Republican as well, but she struggles saying that she's from the Dominican Republic because she's never been there. And so it's the same thing with me. I'm Japanese, so that's my descendancy. I was born in Brazil, but I grew up with like half my culture, half my household, you know, being Japanese, but I've never been to Japan. So I kind of identified with her in that sense, where she kind of says, can you really be from a place that you've never been to before? So it's kind of like that. Like, I'm Japanese and I identify as part Japanese, but can I really say that if I've never been to Japan? You know what I mean? So I really liked her struggles with her identity because I really identified with that. So I love this book. It was very, very sad, and it was very emotional, and there's lots of things that happened, and I would highly recommend everyone to check it out. I did give this book 4.5 stars, and I cannot wait to pick up another book by Elizabeth Acevedo. And there you go, guys. That is all for the books that I read during the month of July. I'm so happy with how the month turned out because I pretty much loved every single one of the books that I read. Let me know down in the comments below how was your reading month, because I would really love to know. Anyway, guys, thank you all so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Please give it a like if you did, and subscribe to my channel if you're not already. All of my social medias are linked down below, including Twitter, Instagram, and Goodreads if you'd like to follow me on those platforms. Hope to see you guys on my next video. Have a good day, guys, and keep reading. Bye!